Hello, everybody. Welcome to another GeneaVlogger live stream. Today, we've got a very interesting one for you. We're going to be diving into the Pope's genealogy. So thank you, everybody, for joining. I have some special guests today that I'm going to be introducing. But first, I wanted to just kind of talk a little bit about everything. Obviously, we all know a new Pope elected. I don't know if that's the proper terminology. I'm Jewish. I'm sorry. But we have a new Pope, and people have been diving into his genealogy, and there were some really interesting discoveries made over the past few days. I learned all about these new discoveries yesterday after I got back from a little bonfire party thing, and got this all set up. Basically, what I found out was that there were multiple teams of genealogists doing amazing work uncovering the secret identity of the Pope's paternal grandfather. And those two teams, we have a representative from each today. We have Haley, or Liddy, as many of you know her, from the Discord genealogy group. And we also have Kyle Betty from Ancestry. And we're getting them all added in. So welcome. Thank you both for joining. And I'll let you both give a quick introduction about yourselves and how the team started. And I'll start with Haley on the top there.
Hello, my name is Haley, or like you said, many people know me as Liddy. I am the owner of the official partnered genealogy Discord server. We are like I think 8.5-year-old server. We're an 8.5-year-old server with like 5,000 members. I recently became the admin about 4 or 5 months ago, and we just offer a lot of community and connection and help for genealogical researchers. A lot of our users are all over the world, and we have a very large range of ages. So
awesome, thank you. And Kyle. Oh, you're muted.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me. And that's great to learn about Discord, because I don't know much about it and all you're doing for people. So that's awesome. I have worked for Ancestry for about 20 years now. I'm part of the Pro Genealogists division of Ancestry, which is the professional services arm where we do research for clients. And we do publishing and take people on trips around the world. So my specialties are really, as a professional genealogist, are in places like France, Ireland, Canada, so various places around the world. And I was one of the founders of the Pro Genealogists division of Ancestry, which started as a separate company and then became part of Ancestry in 2010.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you both for agreeing to doing this. We set this up really quickly. I mean, it's basically 12 hours ago. I think we were all kind of like not sure what was going to happen with this. So thank you again. So I guess to start out, before we really dive into the in-depth research, and I have some stuff pulled up from both your teams that was released. So maybe we'll look at some of that. And I think both of you might have stuff to share with people as well. But I know one of the things I really loved about this was that we had two separate teams, one that's on kind of a much more professional side of things and one that's on much more of a public side of things, both of which I feel have made enormous contributions to the genealogy community for many years. And basically just seeing that, how two different teams coming at it from different angles. So I'd love to hear, I'm sure the new Pope being chosen was a big part of it, but I'd love to hear kind of the start of the research for each team and kind of especially like the developing of, who was researching. So we'll start with Haley, please.
So I think with a lot of the research that we do on our server, it starts almost as like, hey, I have an idea. So I can't remember exactly which one of our users said, hey, I'm going to start researching this. I think that it'll be a fun project for us as a community. And so they just started putting a lot of information or looking into things in just one of our general chats. We have a couple of general chats. And it got to be so much that was all that was being talked about in that chat. So they requested that we rename the chat to Popology. So I did that. And I guess that's just kind of how we spiraled into researching. It just kept growing and more people kept collaborating. And we had probably 20 plus people helping us at one point.
So cool, because I feel like I've seen that happen for years in the genealogy community, especially like with the Facebook groups. If you're in any of the groups, somebody asks a question or someone says something interesting, and next thing you know, within days, it's like all of these people with all these different specialties kind of piping in. So I think it's especially cool to see it on a newer platform like Discord that especially has a much younger audience than the typical genealogy audience.
Yes, and we have more of a real-time aspect to things as opposed to like a forum. So a lot of the research was happening as we were going, just day after day, not necessarily like a question was asked and then we answered it. It was real time. So that's
very cool. And how did the Ancestry team get started?
Yeah, I mean, Thursday morning, Pope gets elected. And I mean, for me personally, I'm a Catholic. And so I've been watching all of this very carefully and all the emotions of having a Pope that was born in America. And then I almost thought, I'm going to maybe put off researching his ancestry until the end of the day so I can get my work for my clients done. But then one of my colleagues, Lisa, Elsie, who's a story producer in our story producer team, contacted me and because I'm a Catholic who's well known for doing Catholic research within our team, she asked me if I could start looking into things, and I couldn't resist. And so the whole start really was Ancestry, of course, is looking to provide storytelling to our customers that inspires them to learn about their own story and discover their own ancestry and use our website. And so the idea was, what can we look into that is interesting about the Pope's ancestry that might eventually be something we could, share with our audience.
That's really cool. That's really cool. And I know with the Ancestry team, there were a few others that were a part of it. Can you talk about kind of how you built up that team?
Yeah, that's an interesting part of it too, because I think, like my personal experience, it was other professional genealogists at Ancestry who had immediately started researching the Pope's genealogy that ended up being involved in the research long term, because they were started, very interested. Maybe a number of us were Catholics. So basically, I as one of the founders of Pro Genealogists, I have a lot of contacts within our group, and so I kind of looked at, okay, who's already talking about what they're researching, because we're, as professionals, we're always researching something, and so I could see that some people were already looking at certain things and asked for their help. So the other person who really became the lead researcher on our side was Kelly, excuse me, Kelly Bodami, and she is an Italian researcher specialist. And so it was really Kelly, whose full name is Barbano Bodami, and Lisa Elsie, and me. So Kelly and I work for the Pro Genealogist division, and Lisa works for the story production part of Ancestry. And so it was really the three of us who were the main collaborators. And then, one of the great things about working for Ancestry is that there's tons of other people around with amazing knowledge that you can draw on for specific things, like maybe it's research in Chicago or Catholic records, or something you need in Italy, or how do you research a priest, or there's always somebody you can ask about whatever the question might be. So definitely a lot of other supporting colleagues.
Yeah, I think it's really cool to hear from both of you, especially in the sense that I've always been of the mindset that collaborative genealogy research is some of the best genealogy research, and kind of like for the reasons that you mentioned, of that you have all of these people that you can pull from, where they have all these different experiences, and no matter how experienced you are as a genealogist, there's always more to learn, and other, you know, little pockets of research that it's just specific records that you really need to know a lot about. So I think what we'll do now, we'll kind of dive into some of the research, looking at some of the things that both of your teams have published. So I'm going to go ahead and share this. So we'll kind of keep up the theme. Start out with the Discord team, and I'm going to try to make this large so everybody can read it. Okay, so hopefully that's coming through. So Haley, if you could kind of just talk a little bit about, you know, as you guys were getting through on the research, kind of that process, and starting to find hints of what was going on.
So I think for a lot of people that I've seen, the first hint for us, here, let me pull up some notes I left them on the side here. The first hint we had was the birth record of Louis and Jean, and we noticed that their mother's surname was different on that than the Social Security records. And so we were like, that's a little interesting. And we knew that there were some French groups that were doing research on that. So at a certain point, we figured out that she was Suzanne Fontaine, that also went by Suzanne Fabre. And then afterwards, we really couldn't find anything about John Prevost in the records at all. Like, there was nothing for him after a certain point. So that was a little suspicious for us, because you don't just disappear, especially in that time period. You don't disappear. So the big kind of breakthrough was the newspaper records with the Prevost Rigatano School of Music. That got us thinking, is this an associate? Is this the same guy? What's going on here? And so we started full-fledged fan research. We looked at everything. We don't have a lot of the fan research here in this proof. We have some of it, but we are still working on getting some of that out. But we did eventually find a World War I draft record for Rigatano, and we realized that the birth dates were the same. So that was a pretty big coincidence that we couldn't let go. So the fan research continued, and then we found the record of the scandal. We found the record that Rigatano was accused of having a relationship with Suzanne Fontaine by his wife, Daisy Hughes. And that really is what broke it open for us. We couldn't get access to any of like the A files or anything that people were getting. It was just a really long wait. But this record is really what cemented it for us, that this was the same guy. So.
Cool. And Kyle, did the Ancestry team have kind of a similar research process, or did you guys go a different route?
Yeah, I mean, I think there is a little bit of a different route to how we got there, and it's really awesome just to see so many people interested in this and coming at it from different points of view, and getting to the same answer. And just about my colleagues a little bit more, I think we kind of had different roles in a way. Like my thing is often putting puzzles together, analysis, asking the right questions. Kelly, as I mentioned, is a specialist in Italian and Italian American genealogy, who spends her whole life in researching Italian immigrants and knows how to find records that I don't know how to find. And then Lisa supporting us with additional research and crafting stories. So that was kind of our three-pronged approach. And I started researching the grandfather, John Prevost, and I pretty quickly was said about Discord, I pretty quickly realized this doesn't line up with what you normally see for a family in the mid 1900s with, okay, they're in the 1950 census, but it's really hard to find anything about them before that. They're missing apparently from 1920, 1930, 1940 censuses, and they're not in a lot of other records, although there's the two birth records, one in 1917 in New York and one in 1920 in Chicago, and there's a couple of directories, but there's just something about this that is not working. And as a, when you've done a lot of this kind of research, that you get that feeling that there's something off here. So whether you're a professional or an amateur, if you've done it a lot, you get that feeling. And so it was really, for us, it was, we started right away after the election on Thursday, and then we pretty quickly found the entries for John and Suzanne in the alien registration database and ordered those. So for us, it was when we got abstracts of those records that came that talked about how it was Rigatano Prevost that was the real break to figuring out all of the rest, and then looking at newspapers as that were mentioned and filling in all the other records and starting to go to Sicily. So very, very exciting, I'm sure, for all the teams to realize, it started out with people, everyone kind of saying, oh, he's from the Turin area, and a town near Turin kind of celebrating that he's from there. And a lot of kind of quick research in various aspects of this Pope's ancestry turned out to be not quite correct. So it was really important to be careful and take your time. So it's balancing that, you want to get to the answers, but it's really important to get to the right answers. So yeah, just amazing to think Sicily. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's so cool to hear how both of you kind of are going slightly different paths, but finding kind of the same sort of stepping stones. And then mentioning the alien registration form, I think that's really interesting. Especially, I know the process probably was exactly the same for both of you for ordering that. So I'd love to hear kind of what does that take? So for anyone watching that might want to order an alien registration form for themselves for their own research.
Yeah, it's an amazing source, as you can tell. And so there's an online database, the Fluxoline database, that you can use to search for kind of basic information. That doesn't tell you the person's birthplace, but you can tell if it's the right person and then request the record. And it doesn't really, in the context of trying to find information about the Pope, it seems like it's taking a long time. But compared to other things, it can be fairly quick in terms of a few days or within a week to get the actual record. But we at least received a little abstract of it shortly after we ordered it, so we knew a lot of key details that then led to a bunch of other records. So. And my understanding is that this database, the Fluxoline database, has really only been available easily online for about the last year. So it's kind of a new source in terms of being more easily accessible. It's always, the records have always been there, but it was much harder to find them. So I suppose that's why more people weren't necessarily looking in that database as early on.
Yeah, and I think it's also interesting with these kinds of records because they're the kind of records that you kind of have to be a bit more advanced to find because it's not always the easiest. But on top of that, I feel like this is part of one of those, the records that aren't even as well known within those sets because I feel like with these, because this is an AR2 file if I'm correct, but a lot of people kind of know about like the A files and things like that. Can either of you talk about kind of those, what the immigration files that are available and what makes this stand out?
I guess I didn't really deal with the immigration file aspect of things, so I'm not super familiar with it. So if someone else wants to talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, the A files are more well known, but basically, beginning in 1940, for anyone who was a foreign national of an enemy state, and like Italy or Germany or Japan, but then expanded after that to anyone who was not naturalized, would have one of these awesome AR2 forums, and it's very detailed and tells you, very importantly, when and where they arrived in the country, which can really help you overcome, something like a name change, where otherwise, searching for somebody under their original name in a passenger list can be really very time consuming if they changed it significantly.
Very cool. Very cool. Now, one thing I wanted to jump to, although I guess maybe we'll kind of use this as a way to also kind of talk about the conclusions, but I think we've discussed that, is the process of being in the team. I know when I spoke with Haley, she was showing me some of the screenshots of like the conversations, and I think if you have some of those pulled up, I think let me
I
see.
do. Let me see how I can share them.
Yeah, see, if you can't share for some reason, I can pull up some of the ones you sent me and show those. But I think it's really interesting to also to learn about, what does that collaborative process look like, and in all honesty, it does kind of look like just a regular conversation between some serious genealogy nerds.
Sorry, let me. It is pretty much that. Let me make sure I'm sharing the right screen here if I can.
Yeah, no worries.
I was just going to say, while you're finding that I think, a lot of us have the experience of getting really excited about what we're finding, but not necessarily having other live people who necessarily care about what we're finding that we're so excited about. So that's why it's so special to have a whole team of people that really care about what we're finding.
Yeah.
So I have a couple of slides here, but they all kind of just show a little bit of the chaos and I guess some of the excitement of what was happening. This is when we found out the birth dates were the same. You can see people were pretty excited about that. And then continuing, this slide kind of shows a little bit of how we were collaborating as a team. A lot of the time, like I said, we do real-time research. It's not like a forum. And so we have people who you just say, can anyone do this? Or can anyone do this? Or, and then they pick it up. Like, see at the top here, you can see someone said, I'll make up a document. And then I'll work.
Actually, they can't see it. 1 second.
Oh,
Let me.
Can't see it? Sorry.
No, I need to adjust it myself. Okay, now they should be able to see it.
Now they should see it. Okay, perfect. And then down here we have Vinny. He is one of our moderators, and he's really good at Italian research. They were asking for him, and he did come in eventually and help us work on that. So, and then just a bunch of stuff here. We also talk about our brick wall competition we have, which is a competition we have in November. We basically get a bunch of brick walls people have on our server, and we split into teams to solve them. And last year, I think we solved like 70 brick walls or something as a group. So it's just similar to this, a mad dash to solve things. So here's another slide here about the Prevost School of Languages. I don't know if this is relevant at all or if it actually was the reason, but Louis graduated from DePaul, and the Rigatoni Prevost School of Languages eventually became or was integrated in part of that school. So that was kind of an interesting fact that we found along the way. Yeah. Sorry to like bombard with screenshots, but I just have a lot.
This is what I wanted. This is perfect. This is perfect.
I love our process. It's such a great community, and we just have a lot of fun. Here we were looking into some newspapers, and another one of our mods, Jen, she had looked into Quincy newspapers before, which is where we found the scandal newspapers. And she also shared a link to a website called Newspaper Finder. It's actually 2 users on our server made this database. It's like a database you can search like digitized newspapers. So what you do is you like look for where you're looking time period, and it'll show you what websites have all the holdings for those newspapers in that area. So it's pretty cool. She shared it, and people were using it to figure things out. So, and then this was on, I think, Thursday or Friday, something. We did a poll to see what people thought about our theory here. At first, it was unanimous, and then people were like, "Hold on, I need a little bit more information." This is before we found any like the scandal newspapers or anything, but this was like really close in the process. But yeah, just another fun little thing we did.
That's cool.
Yeah. Here as well, some more just like looking for documents, sharing links. This user, the Lion Captain, he was searching entire enumeration districts for those missing censuses before we knew that this was not the person. So we were doing stuff like that. We're kind of divide and conquering that. This is kind of a large screenshot, but this is the chaos that happened when we found that scandal newspaper. We
typical Discord memes thrown in throughout.
So the first one here at the top that says hello, we actually deleted the newspaper right there. You can kind of see here like the message was deleted because we were like, this is kind of cool. We should probably keep this a little bit under wraps till we write something up about it. But just a lot of like memes and we did it and cool stuff like that. So we really are like a hype team. We hype each other up a lot. If you don't know how to do something, they'll teach you and then they'll tell you you're doing a great job. So I really appreciate that about them. They taught me a lot about doing genealogy. I am a mediocre genealogist, but they make me better. So I appreciate that about them. And then when we found the article, we locked our channel down. We got everyone in who was looking at it because we were like, what did we find here? Especially because like this is a scandal and these are real people's lives. This is something that we want to be very cautious and careful about. Everyone has uncomfortable things in their tree, but where it's so public, we really wanted to make sure that we were keeping it good, you know. But when we did this, I brought in a friend who is a certified genealogist to help us with our proof statement, our proof document, because I was like, I don't really know what we're doing. We had a couple other people who knew how to do writing and stuff like that, but Mitch, he was a big help. So he started working on that. I set up a temporary website. We did not have a website before this, so we made a proof document, set up a website, have somewhat media trained ourselves, and dealt with all the chaos in like 2 days. It was chaotic, but it was so much fun. So this is just when we brought him into the fold and, you know, started on our document. But, and then here's Vinny. He was working on a lot of the Italian stuff. This is some of the fan stuff we're doing. Yeah, just more collaboration. And then we also had a thread. There's a couple different types of channels on Discord. There's channels, threads. There's another one I can't think of right now, but we basically were throwing every single thing that we needed to do in this, and then we would have someone would pick it up. If someone didn't pick it up immediately, we would say, hey, so-and-so, can you pick this part up? So this is kind of our start of our to-do list.
Yeah, so a lot of working pieces. A lot of working pieces.
It is a lot to manage. We had a couple of different documents aside from the one that you guys are seeing now. We had an initial like, this is fun research document, and then we had a like kind of more professional trying to like source and write document. And there was a lot. We had like hundreds of tabs open at a time. I remember at times people were like, this is tab overload. I can't handle this. So yeah, But it's good. I enjoy doing it, so it's good.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. I don't know if you have similar things that you're able to share, Kyle. I know Ancestry is probably a little bit more tight with what you can share.
I would like to share a little bit. I mean, I think that, and congratulations, Lydia and team. That's just amazing work there, and so many people that coordinate. So for us, I think, you said the work was fun. I think for us, maybe the best word is joyful. It was just so fun and rewarding, and such a passionate time to have three of us working together. I can only imagine, when there were more for all of you, but three of us working together who really were passionate about this, finding things, sharing it, bouncing things off each other, rejecting things when we figured out that they weren't true. And this is the kind of thing that we want to share with our customers about how exciting it can be to make these discoveries, to go on your own journey. And so our goal was to make a blog post that inspires our clients. And it was, also we had in mind that the massive inauguration for the Pope is this Sunday. That kind of the final step in becoming Pope is this Sunday. So we wanted to try to find something to share with people before that. So that was part of our reason for working really hard, even though, as we've talked about, it was so important to be accurate and do it well, because there's already so much bad information being spread around, which was unfortunate. But as you mentioned at the beginning, collaboration, that's what this is for all of us, I think. And it's just more effective, it's more fun when you collaborate with other people to do research, and so that we very much believe in that collaborative way of working at Ancestry as well.
Awesome. Well, I have it set up, so if you want to share anything, I can put that on screen.
I don't actually. I can't. Okay. Don't have anything to share in terms of our our interactions. I'm sorry, but I just know that it was the three of us going back and forth. We use Slack a lot at our company, and there's so many Slack messages, like in your example from Discord, that it's hard for me to find things now in there. And it's amazing to think all this happened since last Thursday. It feels like there's been a couple of weeks in between there with everything that's happened, and just amazing to see the excitement all over the world about looking into somebody's genealogy, right? And this Pope just has such an interesting, diverse ancestry with France and Italy and Creole, and who knows what more is to come, right? With details in his ancestry. And I think it just makes him really relatable to a wide spectrum of people. And again, speaking of wide spectrum, that's with Ancestry, we have such a wide spectrum of audience, from people who are just starting to know anything really about researching their family, to people like you guys who want to know every single detail there is. And so that's kind of what we're usually looking for, is to be able to share something that really is relatable to a very wide audience.
Yeah, I think it's amazing how in such a short time there's been so many announcements. And for me, I was kind of busy over the past few days. So when I got back late at night after a party, and I pulled up and I see all these messages and stuff from and I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. This is absolutely wild. So yeah, it's absolutely amazing. And I think like what you're saying too, that mix of ancestry that he has, I also feel like it's so American, and him being an American, it like adds into that as well. Now, as you were also talking about what else might we find, I imagine both teams are still diving in and tracing things further. So I'd love to hear from both of you about, what are some goals that you're working on, or, anything you can talk about. And, if you want to release any exclusive details here, I won't stop you.
Yeah, I guess I can go first again. We like I mentioned earlier, we did a lot of fan research, and not a lot, and we actually did some like more in-depth like tree research as well. But we didn't include a lot of that in our proof document because we didn't have the time to write it out well. So we had, like, our Google Doc that we had was 68 pages long. So we just have a lot more information to give. I don't know how anyone would feel with me giving it out right now, but there's more to come.
I totally understand that.
Yeah, and we're just really excited to know all this information about the Pope's family and to see so many people interested and to know that, this is probably not the end of the journey with finding more things about his ancestry. And also, I think, we also have part of the ancestry services. We have something that we call heritage travel, which refers to people, going back to visit where their ancestors are from. And so that's definitely a linkage for us in terms of what might happen in the future. Like we have a virtual tour going on tomorrow in Sicily that just happened to be virtual heritage tour that just happened to be scheduled. And, I can think about, I want to go to Milazzo now and visit and, go to the beach and go to the Aeolian Islands and all of that. And I imagine, people will make pilgrimages and we'll see all kinds of interesting things and just inspire people, particularly who have roots in Italy to go back. And I think that's one of the key things about the research for this Pope and particularly the Italy is the reason that my colleague Kelly originally started looking into this was because there were these rumors about the Pope having Italian ancestors, which is always kind of a big thing when a new Pope is elected. Is the Pope Italian or is the Pope not Italian? And the Italians are wondering, okay? And so there were the rumors, and at first it was, okay, on the maternal side, maybe there's an Italian ancestor, but then, we switch to the paternal side and we have this Sicilian connection. And for him, it's a family that left Italy and went to America. And then 2 generations later, Robert Prevost is by way of Peru going to Italy and becoming Pope and kind of completing a circle, reconnecting, reuniting his family story, which is what we see so often with people who travel to see their roots. It's a reconnection. Sometimes things were broken. They had to leave sometimes many times to go to America or somewhere else. And now there's this completing of the circle that we hope will be something that is inspired in a lot of other people.
That's a really cool way to think about it. I hadn't even considered that aspect of it. Which kind of leads me to wonder, do you know if the Pope knows about these announcements?
I know. I want to know when my papal audience is.
Yeah.
Or our papal audience. We should all go together.
Pope, if you're watching. So, yeah.
Hopefully, we do hope that his family will, receive this information, get to know about their Sicilian roots. I would predict that it'll get to him eventually, but we'll have to see. His brothers, as you may have seen, are in the news a lot. And I don't, it's hard for us to know, was any of this ever talked about or, suspected or, we really don't know, but that'll certainly be an interesting development to watch for.
Now, I don't know if this would be possible, but I'd love to see one of them get a DNA test done. That'd be really cool to see. I'm sure you both would love that.
Someone mentioned on our server, they're like, we need to give a DNA test now and like do this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand. It would be fun.
Cool. So we've got some time left. So I wanted to also open it up to the people watching if they had any questions for you all about the research or just comments. I've tried to kind of bring up some chats on screen as we've been talking. And I know we've got Jen in here who was a big part of the research and Haley was talking about. So yeah, anyone that wants to ask a question, I know it takes a second to come in. but yeah, I do think that this is absolutely amazing to hear from both of you, to hear that collaborative aspect in two different settings. And, especially I think, the genealogy Discord is something that not everyone knows about, and Genealogists is not something everybody knows about.
Right.
And those are both two entities that I think can be amazing for all sorts of people, whether they want to join a very active community like Discord, or looking to get some really high-end help like Genealogists, or especially like the heritage tours. I know that's something I've talked to Janet Silverman about, because I know she does some of those. So but
well said. Yes.
Yeah. So this has been absolutely wonderful. So gonna keep looking to see if we have any questions come in. I'm guessing people might be typing
Right.
them up. But if either of you have anything that you wanted to add in as well.
I did just want to mention, I saw someone mentioned earlier about people of all ages. Some of the people on our research document that helped write that statement are high school students. They are under the age of 18. They are killing it. They are so smart, and I just wanted to recognize them for their contributions.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I think that also goes to show how with Discord you kind of get a younger audience, which in the genealogy community, I feel like that's one of the number one things we're always trying to do, is we want to get that younger audience, because I feel like all of us on this call, we're kind of all outside that typical genealogist demographic ourselves. So to hear high schoolers or, that involved with it, I think it also goes to what Kyle was saying of that inspiration and, it's very cool.
Yeah, it sounds interesting from our perspective, that some of those people might be great potential future genealogists employees. So maybe we'll see some of them apply.
I see a lot of comments. Oh, Sebig, I'm also under 18. So yeah, we've got some very young folks that are into genealogy. So very cool. So since I'm not seeing any questions come in, just a lot of comments. Probably a good time for I give both of you a chance to kind of plug like how to get in touch or utilize the services that you have.
We have a website. It's discordgenealogy.com. If you go there, you can read our proof statement, as well as there's a contact form and a link to join our server. Come check us out. We'll have some good information for you on our server. So.
Yeah. And as I mentioned, Genealogists is a division of Ancestry. So the easiest way to find out about Genealogists is to go to our website, progenealogists.com. But then, of course, the ancestry.com website is the big one for using Ancestry sources and trees. Those are, I forgot to say that in terms of our process, we used an Ancestry tree essentially as our central tool. So we're also accustomed to using that tool, and we all work as professionals to help refine that tool behind the scenes. That it's a very effective collaborative tool for us, where we're all working on the same tree, and we can add the records and the chronology and the relationships very quickly, and then it gives you hints about what other records you can find quickly. Of course, sometimes you need to spend a lot of time, for example, searching census enumerations to get to the right record. But when you can get them easily from hints and evaluate them well, that's really speeds up the process in a great way. So, and then you can find out about our heritage travel options as well on the Ancestry and Genealogists websites.
Awesome. Well, thank you both so much for joining again today. I didn't see any questions really coming in. So unless either of you have anything to add, I think we can end it here. But I mean, this is so interesting. And, I know I've been hitting on that collaborative aspect. I mean, I love it. I'm a Genie curator, so, collaborative tree, have to love it. But especially seeing it from two different angles and two teams doing it at the exact same time from those different angles. So Thank you both again. Thank you everybody for joining today in chat. We definitely had a good crew of people. I know I saw a lot of my Dutchies in here, so hope that all is good mit allemaal. But it's been good. And just a little housekeeping stuff. I mentioned this last week. I'll no longer be streaming on the Reaction channel. All streams are going to be on this channel going forward. Every Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern is the aim. Other than that, I hope to see you all soon, and be sure to watch the new Max Miller episode if you haven't watched that yet. Found out some very interesting World War II history on his family. So thank you all again. Thank you. Not enough thank yous going around.
Thanks for having us. Congratulations, everyone. Great work.
Yeah. All right. Y'all have a good weekend.
You as well.